Sister Act, I love it. Who came up with the idea first? Which one of you is going to take credit for the movie?
That was you. Well, the movie was my idea initially. However, the Sister Act was Fiona's.
Yeah, so Sophia said, I want to make a movie that is sort of a love story to New York, because we had both lived in New York for 8 years. And so we started basically compiling a list of all our favorite places in New York that we wanted to shoot, which then turned out to be a logistical nightmare when we were trying to move between those places in 25 days of shooting. But we also wanted to talk about our experiences living there, what we've observed, and, you know, what New York is really like right now, post-COVID, what it's dealing with as well, the issues.
We are New Yorkers at heart. We love New York, and it can be hard to make a good New York movie if you haven't lived there and you don't know the city. One of our favorite New York movies is Metropolitan, and our film is hopefully in conversation with that. We have Whit Stillman in the film. We have Carolyn Farina, who is Audrey Rougeau, and we're like, we know the city. We want to make a movie here, and we both went to NYU Tisch, so we thought, let's give New York actors a chance.
And then you're not even from New York. You're from Indiana.
We were born in Indiana, but we sort of lived all over the world and ended up in the city.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we lived in Indiana until we were 12, and I think being from the Midwest, where people are, you know, for the most part, very friendly and community-oriented, to go to a place like New York, you get an interesting perspective because you can see it from the outside, and then you can also be a part of it, because anyone who is in New York for 5 minutes can be a New Yorker, you know? It's a town of transplants.
And then the characters that I saw were very wealthy. And did you have access to that kind of community to be able to go, okay, here's the inside skinny?
Yeah, I think Sophia and I's story is kind of an American story. We grew up middle class. Our grandfather became very successful in business. And so we had this sort of life transition where we had money suddenly. And we were surrounded by people who had money on an even greater, more egregious level. And I think that impacted us differently. For me, I was certainly unsettled by that transition. I was certainly unsettled by the level of wealth that I saw in New York. And so I think our film is a comment on capitalism. I think that capitalism is what we've chosen in the U.S., and that's great. But I do think there's room for compassion in capitalism. You see that a lot with family businesses, like our family business, you know, unions, number one, coming to the table with people like the writers, paying them a fair wage, paying them residuals. You can also pay your employees fairly. You can make sure that there's a way for everyone to profit and not just one person. And so when you see like lands being stripped of resources and then somebody on Fifth Avenue who has a $40 million apartment, maybe you could say, how can we do this differently so we can share in the wealth? But of course, people who invest their capital should still be allowed to profit, you know, because they took that risk. So I think it's our film is trying to comment on how we've observed this and maybe make people think about how they can do things differently.
And is this your directorial debut?
No, so we made our first movie. It's also a satire on class. It's called the Country Club, and it's more of a broad comedy. And that is, it came out in theaters June 9th, so it's in select theaters around the country, which is exciting. And then it'll be on VOD next Friday.
Okay, good. So you're used to working with each other. What's the hardest part about working with each other, since you are sisters?
We work quite well together. We usually have a shared vision for what we're trying to produce. Of course, there are moments, but Fiona is a very talented director. Our family has always supported her directing career, and I agree. I never doubted her, even her first feature, when people were saying sort of like, have you ever directed a feature before? And we were like, it'll be fine, and it was fine. So yeah, I think we work well together. We have different talents and strengths. I mean, just today I did the tax credit refund submission to the state for our second feature. So, you know, I'm good at that sort of thing.
But you did the writing as well, correct? Co-writer?
Yes, I'm a writer, yes.
What do you like better, the dialogue writing or actually just coming up with everything? Because everybody's got a strength. Somebody's really good at dialogue and somebody else is really good at getting the plot to move along. What would you say your strength is?
I'm more of a plot point girl. Fiona's definitely stronger at dialogue.
Yeah, I think Sophie has a really good way of saying, like, I don't know, that's a little cheesy or something.
No one would ever say that.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're both actresses, though. How hard is that to be in it and direct it at the same time?
So I started out acting when I was about 15 professionally. I've been doing it for a long time. And one of the things I realized over time is that I'm actually a better actor when I am not overthinking it. So I like directing and acting at the same time because I prefer to just step into my role and to work on instinct as an actor. So for me, it's like the perfect thing. What about you?
I do not direct and act. However, I think you can overthink it. We both have BFAs from Tisch in acting, and it's great to study and immerse and really work on your script. But at the end of the day, when you get on set, you just have to throw it all away and trust your instincts. And it definitely helps not to be overthinking it. So I think Fiona does it well, and producing at the same time helps me not to overthink what I'm doing.
And what was the toughest shoot that you had in this one thing? What was the one day that was like, oh my God, I'm done?
Okay, so our final gala scene, we had...
The subway?
Oh, the subway was, well, I thought it was a final gala scene because I told the production designer we want to have candles on the tables. And so she sends this email to our locations saying, we're going to have 80 candles on the tables. And he writes back, you are absolutely not going to have 80 candles on the tables. That is a huge fire hazard. But the location was like, no problem. It's no problem. We have events here all the time. We always have candles. So, and they're like, we have to get the fire department here. So we're trying to get like a last minute fire department approval. And anyway, we end up not doing that, and we just have fake candles, but they look beautiful, and you wouldn't even be able to tell, I don't think.
Well, now you've told everyone.
Well, now everyone knows.
Now everybody's going to be looking. It's like, okay.
Maybe we should cut out this part.
I don't know.
The most challenging scene was outside the Frick collection on 5th because it was very, very cold. And everyone was sort of in their gala dresses and everyone was freezing, and we had a Steadicam op sort of going around us, and it was also a night shoot. That was a tough one. And then the subway, shooting on a subway, you can't close off the car. That's also tough.
And what time of the year were you guys shooting?
October 18th through basically Thanksgiving. So autumn.
It's chilly.
Chilly, yeah.
Just
It was a chilly autumn in New York. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I saw the one guy that's playing, I can't remember his name, but I've seen him in a lot of films, and he's insufferable.
Is it Caffrey?
Yes.
Logan Miller?
Oh.
Yes, he
was
plays it
fabulous,
so wonderfully.
He did a great job, very talented.
Did you write knowing that he's the one that's going to play this part?
No, we just sort of...
He nailed it, and he'll be here Friday at the premiere. Yeah, we wrote that. I think of Caffrey as kind of an extension of a character that we wrote in our first movie, The Country Club. So we had this sort of insufferable character named Roger. He was sort of like bumbling, and I think that probably as a woman you spend a lot of time watching men bumble around and like talk a lot, and so I think that's just in our brains as like a character, because we had Roger in Country Club and now we have Caffrey in A View of the World, and there's sort of two sides of the same coin, I feel like.
Well, what do you want audiences to take away when they leave your film? What do you want them to just remember the most or take away from it?
Well, I hope that they fall in love with New York, if they aren't already, and that they want to see more New York movies. And Fiona?
I think I want people to know that we're all struggling on these searches for identity. People struggle between two groups all the time. I think our lead character, Annabelle, is trying to decide between two groups, and that's something that a lot of people can relate to. There's also a love story. I think that's another thing people can relate to. So I just hope that they actually watch this movie and think like, oh, these people aren't so different from me, and I can understand these different sort of, I don't want to say like struggles, but I think these challenges that we're all kind of dealing with in this right now. So.
And is this is the first film festival that it's going in?
This is our world premiere.
Ooh, that's exciting. Are you guys going to shop it around to a couple of other festivals before you try to get a distribution deal?
We're open to other festivals, but we've learned from the first one that we love working on films and we want to sell and make another one. That's kind of our goal. Festivals are fun. We're very happy to be here. Thank you. But yeah, we just want to make our money back and make the next one.
It is interesting because, okay, you guys are writers, you're creatives, you're dealing with all this stuff. At no time do they tell you, by the way, this is what you have to do once your baby is created. Interview with me, and interview on junkets and everything else. So I think that is a struggle for filmmakers, that they create. You guys are filmmakers, you're not people that are used to doing this constantly like that. Would you have any advice for any filmmakers, that, especially the women out there that were like, oh, I don't know that I can do it? Because people said, she's never done it before. I don't think she can do it.
We almost structured a co-production early on our first feature, and they sort of were telling Fiona how she should direct it and wanted to replace her, and I said, I don't think so.
Oh, wow.
Well, I think... I think that if you think you can do it, you can do it, because, there are all sorts of unqualified men in all sorts of positions. No offense, we love men, but, this whole like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. The reason we made Country Club is because we were able to scrape together a little bit of money. We did an Indiegogo. We were like, okay, let's make this movie because I'm 25. I won't reveal your age. I shouldn't have revealed my own. But no, so well, let's make this. At the time, I was 25. And so then it's like, if it's bad, then you could just be like, oh, well, I was 25. Like, do it now. That's what what I always tell my friends. I'm like, do it now, because don't wait 10 years and then look back and be like, oh, I should have. If you have it in you and you think you can do it, go for it.
I have some advice. So we also run our own production company. We've learned about making a film and distribution. We went to school for acting. So we learned it all on set and as we went along. And it's great because then no one can pull the wool over your eyes. I mean, we just self-distributed our first film in theaters, which is a lot of work.
I emailed about 15 theaters in every major city in the U.S. and I just pitched them. We didn't pay to be in those theaters, which is called four-walling. They wanted us to pay, some of them, and we just said, no, our movie's great. We'll sell tickets, book it, please. And so last weekend we opened against Transformers, which I think we probably did better than that. I don't know, probably not.
Just do it now when you're young, and you'll learn. You'll find the people to help you learn if you need the help.